Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is our regularly scheduled meeting just after 10 o'clock on Tuesday, April 25th, 2006. We're meeting in the third floor of City Council, or City Hall, excuse me, in City Council Chambers, John Ferraro Council Chambers in room 370 here. We are broadcast live on Channel 35 and also rebroadcast in the evening on Channel 35 through the city's cable system, LA City View, your channel. We invite folks to come down here and to testify in public comment on general issues not agendized on our agenda or specific items that have been agendized for public comment. We also are available for public comment and testimony through our remote facility in Van Nuys at the Van Nuys City Hall. So we invite folks to show up there, and via remote you'll be on television and be able to be broadcast here in our chambers. For those not close to a television, we are also webcast live through our city's homepage at www.lacity.org, where you can catch the council live through webcast, streaming video, and we also are broadcast through our council phone system, which is a telephone number you can call, 213-621-CITY, to listen to the proceedings of the City Council or the committees of the City Council as well. We need 10 members, which is 2/3 of our 15, to constitute a quorum and officially begin our meeting. I want to thank the council members that are here, council members Gruhl, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Wesson, and Zine. We have 7 members and are short 3. Mr. Parks, Mr. Padilla are excused today, so I'd like to ask Mr. Cardenas to make his way down as quickly as possible, Ms. Perry to make her way down as quickly as possible, Mr. Reyes to make his way down as quickly as possible, Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Weiss. As soon as we have 3 more members, we will begin the meeting. Thank you. Again, I want to thank council members Gruhl, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Wesson, and Zine for being here. That's 7 members. We still need 3 more members to constitute a quorum. Councilmember Cardenas, Councilmember Perry, Councilmember Reyes, Councilmember Rosendahl, Councilmember Smith, and Councilmember Weiss. Please make your way down to council chambers as soon as possible. So pursuant to council rules, we can begin this meeting at close to 10 o'clock if possible. Thank you. Thank you to council members Gruhl, Hahn, Huizar, Labange, Perry, and Smith. Thank you, Ms. Perry and Mr. Smith, for your arrival. Mr. Wesson and Zine are here. Thank you to all of them. We're awaiting one more member. Councilmember Reyes, Rosendahl, Weiss, or Cardenas are our last outstanding members that are not excused and who should be here. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Gruel, Han, Weezer, Labange, Padilla, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves and Mr. Wesson seconds. If there's no objection, that's a unanimous vote. Those are approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Reyes moves and Ms. Gruel seconds. If there's no objection, that too is a unanimous vote, and those are moved.
And Mr. President, this is Tuesday, and there is a flag salute that is on the agenda.
Mr. Wesson, would you be kind enough to lead us in a salute to the flag, and can I please ask everybody in council chambers to rise?
Pledge allegiance. Put your right hand over your heart. Everybody, place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. Next order of business.
Mr. President, this is the time for comments from the public on items not on council's agenda.
Okay, now it's time for general public comment for items that are not on our agenda but that are under our jurisdiction. I'd like to invite Dave Thompson up first, to be followed by Matt Dowd. Oh, I'm sorry. And just before you start, sir, I want to recognize Ms. Gruel just for a quick introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Colleagues, I'm so pleased today to have students from Grant High School who are working with our Human Relations Commission on the HEART program, helping to stem violence. So if I could ask all of the Grant High School students who are here, and if we could acknowledge them. The Grant students over here. Thank you very much for being here. It's a great school. I was there Saturday for Earth Day, and really appreciate you being here today and your work on trying to address the violence issue. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Ms. Gruel and Mr. Labange, for a quick introduction, and then I promise we'll get to you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We have also some special people as well from Grant High School, but we have from Culver City High School, Calabasas High School, Aguero High School, and Beverly Hills High School. We have students who are here on an ambassador leadership program. If you could be stand and be recognized by the City Council of Los Angeles. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson, excuse me. Mr. David Thompson for 2 minutes. Welcome. And then we'll go to Mr. Matt Dowd.
I'm Dave Thompson. I've been a resident of Los Angeles for about 7 years. Prior to that, I lived in San Diego for 20 years. Last Sunday at 3 p.m. at Fairfax Avenue in Oakwood, I was waiting for a bus very peaceably, minding my own business, no problem. And this man with 30-inch biceps, about 40 years old, gave me the finger. I ignored him. I looked back. He gave me another finger. And he turned and he ran to me as fast as he could, put his fist in my face and told me he's going to beat the hell out of me. And he meant it. I'm 72 years old. If he had hit me any hard, I would die. I couldn't survive it. Naturally, I was very nice to this man because my life was at stake. I said, well, if you want to go to prison, that's your option. So he was very lonely. We talked for about 20 minutes. We became friends. Then the police finally came about 40 minutes later, and they refused to talk to me. This man had threatened my life, and they refused to talk to me. That's the LAPD. I got the badge number and the name of the police officer. If anyone know it, I got a flyer here. I'm going to give it to each council member. About a month ago, I was in a grocery in Skid Row at 7 p.m. at night, and this mentally ill homeless woman was the clerk was angry at her, so she went in the back of the store and shoplifted something. She walked out of the store. He ran after her, beat her to the ground as hard as he could, kept hitting her. He dragged her back in the store. He kept hitting on her. I called the police, and the police said, well, is the victim there? I said, no, she ran away. Well, we can't come out and investigate because there's no victim to sign a complaint. Jaywalking is rampant in LA. You can go anywhere in the city and jaywalk with impunity. Homeless set up tents. The tents stay up for weeks and months at a time. The police come by and nod at them and go on. This is Police Chief Broughton's LA. It's not safe to live in this town. Police Chief Parks, LA, the police wouldn't talk to you, they wouldn't smile at you, but when it came time to arrest somebody, they would do it like that. I think we should get another police chief, someone who's going to enforce the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Matt Dowd, followed by Zuma Dog.
Thank you. My name is Matt Dowd. I represent artists, people who do original things out on Venice Beach. That's my permit. They sold me to perform, sell incense. This is the one I make right here. I made a video of this, actually. I sent it to Bill's office because the council, the neighborhood meetings were like, it was just a lot of talk. So I made a written submission, and I made a video and showed how I make my own incense at Venice Beach. And this is the one here. It's the pink one. It's soaked in coconut, mango, strawberry, and Dream Angel by Victoria's Secret. It's handmade, and I pack them at the beach on the spot. There's other guys just like me. I was at one of my people, the incense and jewelry guy, I was at his funeral in the weekend. People couldn't have said nicer things about that guy. And the reason he's out on the beach is because he touches people. People come to Venice Beach to be talked to not by a commercial salesman, but just by regular people who are out there on the beach. You know, and some of them are a little eccentric, and, you know, we may see that today. And some of them are genuine people who are making a living. And there's a lot of them. And I want to see the future of LA. The younger kids have their chance to come out, and if they come up with something original, and, you know, they need $1, and there's 88,000 homeless people out here on the street right now in the county. There's 10,000 people in March lost their job. If you look through the LA Times, you can see all, you know, the state of the city where it's tough, you know, for a lot of people. And all those jewelry people out on Venice Beach, I mean, you know, they're out of work, and it's just not right.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dog?
I'm documented in case any injustices happen, y'all. I'm gonna have it on tape, y'all. Don't start the clock yet. What, you started the clock. I didn't start talking yet. Put 5 seconds back on, y'all. Yeah, yeah. Hoo-dee-hoo. We got Zuma Dog, y'all. We got some people from the Going Hills. Let's hear Going Hills in his ass. You feel me? I'm here to give a little schooling lesson so all these students know what happens when you go to City Hall, y'all. I have my civil rights. The police are out of order, y'all. First of all, Venice Beach, I'm allowed to be a performing artist. I was performing on a Sunday within my reasonable amplification that the state gave me a contract and took my money for. The police came up to me and said, turn your stereo down a little bit more. And I said, I'm within my rights. He said, I know you are, but we're kind of busy today, and if you don't turn it down, we'll just find something else to get you on, y'all. I hope they're getting a better democracy in Iraq than Zuma Dog's getting from LA City Council, y'all, because you can't be having the police coming up to people and saying, if you don't stop doing something legal, we'll just get you on something else, y'all. That's called terrorism and harassment, y'all. And I'm suffering all kinds of emotional problems from it, y'all. So then I was here to complain last Friday, to take my 2 minutes of time that I'm entitled to, y'all. And I was filming it with my camera, y'all, not doing nothing wrong, y'all. And then a policeman came up to me right away and said, excuse me, exit the building. What are you doing? I said, I'm filming my stay here at City Hall. He said, exit the building. And I said, well, can't I just stop? He said, no, exit the building. He got on the walkie-talkie, started calling all kinds of people, y'all, and he terrorized Zuma Dog right out of here. So I got on the phone, called Stan Muhammad, my representative, got on Bill Rosenthal's office, and they showed the tape to the lieutenant. The lieutenant said, I didn't do nothing wrong. Let Zuma Dog back in, y'all. So here I am again, y'all. They're trying to do things with the police to keep you from expressing your First Amendment rights, y'all. Here's what I got to say about that, y'all. We don't need no legislation. We don't need no beach patrol. No politicians on the boardwalk. Council, leave our beach alone. All in all, it's just another brick in the shopping mall, y'all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. All right, we've got Michael Hunt as our next speaker. Mr. Hunt, if you can navigate your way through that, you're the next speaker.
Thank you, guys. I guess I'm considered the calm one right now. After being arrested 24 times for selling shea butter on the boardwalk and with the permit that Los Angeles City issued me to do it, doing all the research saying that I was protected up under the federal amendment and protected up under the 9th court district, up under the appeals court in the 9th district court in 2003, 2004. The injustice that I'm still being arrested after getting a permit, after doing what I was supposed to do to be down on the boardwalk. And after talking to the Attorney General's office yesterday, he said that is a real injustice. He said that my council guy should be really researching all this information to find out how true it is. Well, in 2003, 2004, Esau Benson had already won in the Ninth Appellate Court. It was just like the justice handed down with the homeless, that they couldn't arrest them for being homeless in the federal courts. Well, we've already had that, and it's already been done. So now I come to my council guy to figure out what's really going on. And the funny thing about it is everybody voted on this bill, but when everybody gets subpoenaed to court and they find out that it's federal jurisdiction and that it's already been ruled on, the laughs become probably none at all, because that's what's going to happen. Everybody's going to get subpoenaed to court. And I've been coming down here just to make sure that we have a track record of it, that everybody knows the law even as it's then. After talking to Ben Johnson at the Attorney General's office, he said, you are so right. He says, one of the things that you have done is your research. Why haven't my city council people done now? Just like Janice Hahn says, now, if we owe the city some money, then they go right after it. But if they do something wrong, they don't protect us. Help me out here, you guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt. Our next speaker is Melrose Larry Green. Welcome.
Thank you. I have one word to this rap artist. Freedom. That's the one word. Okay. I was going to say Prozac, but
They're inexplicably intertwined, y'all.
thank you. My name is Melrose Larry Green. Good morning, everybody. I've come here to thank you this morning, to thank you. I've heard through the grapevine that the City Council has acted on the Florentine Gardens issue, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, no pun intended, but I hear it's a good outcome for our side. I want to thank you all very, very much. I want to thank you, the City Council. I want to thank Mayor Villaraigosa, the City Council, the subcommittees, everybody. But secondly, democracy works. Democracy works. And I must thank Councilman Tom LaBonge for and President Eric Garcetti for getting me into the VIP area Sunday at Pan Pacific Park as the Jewish community, I won't say celebrated, but commemorated the day of remembrance of the Holocaust. And what beautiful words Mayor Villaraigosa gave to the crowd. And thank you all very much. And this great picture, the cat, I know my time is up. Everyone wants to know, how's the cat going? Well, take your worst enemy, you folks on City Council, times 1,000, and that's how my cat looks at the other cat. And you know what? We have to all get along. I told him, I think my new one's a Republican, I don't know, and the other one's a Democrat. Thank you very much. Thank you for the picture, Tom.
No, your time ain't up, though.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Green. And that closes our public comment for today. Madam Clerk, next order of business.
Before beginning the regular agenda, Mr. President, there is an item that has been requested to be continued, item number 79, a request to continue that matter to tomorrow.
Okay, is there any objection, colleagues, to continuing item 79 until tomorrow? Seeing none, so ordered.
On the regular agenda, item number 1 is an item noticed for public hearing. It is an ordinance, Los Feliz BID, and I believe there is a card on that item.
Let's call that special for the card then.
Okay, next items are also public hearing items 2 through 7. They're building and safety reports confirming the liens, and I believe the recommendation is to confirm them.
Okay. Anybody wishes to call any of those special, 2 through 7? If not, let's move with that recommendation on the balance, excuse me. Open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items.
And number 8 is also building and safety item. However, the department has recommended that that be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid.
Okay. Anybody wishing to hear that special? If not, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved as well. Next items.
Next items are public hearing items 9 through 17. The recommendation for council action is to open the hearings and continue the hearings and ordinance to May 16th.
Okay. Does anybody wish to be heard on those? If not, let's take those actions, if we can prepare the roll on that action. And we don't need to, okay. We'll just continue those until the 16th of May. And next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 18 through 49.
Okay, any specials on those, colleagues, 18 to 49? Is Ms. Gruhl?
46 and 47.
Sorry, 46?
46 and 47.
46 and 47, Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Labange?
36, please.
36, Mr. Labange. Mr. Smith?
31.
31, and Ms. Perry?
37 for Mr. Parks.
37 for Mr. Parks. Okay, any other specials, colleagues, on those items? If there are no other specials, let's open the roll on the balance, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's send 19, those are approved, 19 and 20, if we can send those forthwith, please. Next items?
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 50 through 78. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, colleagues, specials, 50 to 78. Yes, Mr. Zine.
76, continue to Friday, please.
Okay, is there any objection, colleagues, to continuing 76 till Friday? If not, so ordered. Mr. Smith, special?
61.
61 from Mr. Smith.
And, Mr. President, there is a card on 73.
Okay, let's call 73 special for cards. And any other specials, colleagues? Mr. Rosendahl? Which one?
74.
74 for Mr. Rosendahl. Okay. Any other special items, colleagues? If not, let's prepare the roll on the balance and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Next items on the supplemental agenda, 79 through 85. 10 votes are required for consideration, and 79 has already been continued, so that would be 80 through
80 through 85. Yes. Mr. Zine.
81 special, please.
81 for Mr. Zine. Any other specials, colleagues? I think we will, so we have cards on 80, so we will call that special as well before taking that in executive session. Any other specials? 80 we've called special,
81.
and 81 we have special already. So we have 82 through 85. Anybody wishing to call any specials from 82 to 85? Seeing none, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item number 86, and that is a Bureau of Sanitation City Attorney report.
Okay, anybody wishes to hear 86 special? Yes, Mr. Smith. All right. We'll call that special as well. We have one more public speaker card for general public comment. If we can reopen that and invite Michael Carrion to speak. Welcome to City Council. 2 minutes, sir.
Welcome. My name is Michael Carrion. I live in the 14th District, and I just have a few questions. Mr. Huizar, you keep telling me that you sent somebody to investigate my issues. One person after another person takes it over, and they all start at square one again. I need this issue taken care of. If you're not going to do it, then just say you're not going to do it. You know, I understand that you want to help the mayor. I understand that the mayor wants to take over the school board. We need you in El Sereno. We elected you, not the mayor, or maybe he did, I don't know, but we voted for you. I need something done. I don't need it to be handed off to somebody else for them to tell me they're going to take care of it, and, oh, we got to start back at square one again. It's ridiculous. It sounds like I'm just running back and forth, you know. Mr. Smith, the other day you were talking about the zoo. You know, you turned around and says you want people to give the honest truth. I gave you the honest truth about the tree that fell in the car. You didn't take 1 minute out to look into it. Right away you blasted me about it. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, yes, you did. Maybe you don't remember, but you did. About how the city goes by the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. But when it's convenient to you, you want the city to go by the spirit of the law and not the letter of the law. I don't understand you. It's very confusing. And when it comes to Mr. Zuma Dog, city employees have the right to stand out there and yell and scream and do everything they want, but an individual does not have the right to stand out there and film? I'm confused. Mr. City Attorney, I've asked for this question before. When Mr. Zine attacked the farm workers and he went over, broke the rules of the Brown Act, why hasn't he been punished for it? Why hasn't he been held accountable? Again, Mr. Weezer, accountability. The mayor runs around using that word a lot. Mr. Zine doesn't seem to be accountable for anything.
Thank you, Mr. Carrion. That closes our public comment again. We'll turn now to the items called special, starting with number 1 for a card. Ms. Sylvia Hawkins, if you'd like to come forward right now on item number 1. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Ms. Sylvia Hawkins. All public people must be aware of elderly people bank account that is transferred into the Sun bank account just to leave the elderly looking out of a window and 1 bowl of cream of wheat. Mistreatment of these elderly parents, the style of Latinos, Japs, and Asians, style of destroying their parents, wealth at old age. Doing this style of the Menendez brothers to kill or destroying your parents will not work. Or leaving them locked up, looking out of a window will not work. All bank accounts has been removed from Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all elderly people will be helped very soon. We must be aware also of all the millions that decades ago came to this state or to the 50 states, came here rich, Councilman Alice Ponder, and not poor. So we know that we have a lot of illegals out here. And now we know that some of these councils are taking their bank account. And now they have no way to pay their rent or to live. We are aware that some of y'all here, Councilman Eric Cassetti, is taking rent illegally from these people, and you are not even legal to accept rent. We, the United States American government and National Guards, are now checking out Councilman Alice Ponder bank account, Eric Cassetti, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor. We are aware, National Guards, that these people are not broke, that are complaining about Geronimo and other things.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very much.
Hawkins. We appreciate your comments on the Los Feliz Village Business Improvement District, and since you named me by the record, I just wanted to correct for the record that I'm not taking rent money. Let's open the roll on this item, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 31, and that was called special by council member.
Would you like to take that together with 61? Okay, let's take up 31 and 61 together, and I'll recognize Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, what we're going to ask for is that the recommendations of item 61, which is the department's recommendations, be included in item 31, which was the original motion I introduced on multifamily collection of recyclables in multifamily units. The department's come forward with some recommendations that was part of my Renew plan, which introduced last summer. So I think if we marry the two together, and we're going to go forward, and I think, is there someone from the department here that wants to talk about the plan? Someone? There they are. As you recall, last summer we talked quite a bit about multifamily recycling as an initiative in the City of LA. Currently, the City of LA does not pick up about 80% of the multifamily residences in the city, only a few that we actually do. But we wanted to see recycling expanded into the multifamily sector. The mayor has sent out an executive order on this matter as well, so we're all in accord. The department has now come forward with a plan. It has been through the Renew committee, and Ms. Perry has been in her committee as well. I think what you have before you is a very good plan that's going to be putting recycling in multifamily housing in the City of LA so we can begin to increase those numbers. Realistically, this is going to be a hard nut to crack because there's a lot of unique problems with that. So if you'll hold my time, I'd like to turn it over to whoever from the department is going to speak and tell us a little bit about how the program will work out, and then open it to questions. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members of the City Council. I'm Neil Guglielmo with the Bureau of Sanitation Seawater Recycling Division. What we have for you this morning is a report with regards to the multifamily recycling programs in the City of Los Angeles. We have had a pilot program operating now since early 2004. We have 70,000 multifamily units currently in the pilot program that are recycling with the City of Los Angeles. That's out of roughly 540,000 multifamily units citywide. We've piloted several different methods of recycling, source separated, which is similar to our current curbside collection program in the City of Los Angeles, as well as dirty MRFing and blue bag recycling. Based on what we've learned from the pilot with the different methods of recycling and the levels of education and outreach, we have come to you with our recommendations how we would like to expand this recycling effort to all multifamilies in the City of Los Angeles, not just those served by city forces. What we have recommended is that we go forward at this time with a voluntary recycling program. We are recommending that we have a moderate level ongoing education outreach for our multifamily units. As we have transitioned to multifamily units, we want to make sure that we can educate all the current renters as well as those renters for the future. We're also recommending that we pursue a source-separated program. This will allow us to take our existing education outreach with the public and expand that. It's very consistent, again, with our blue bins that you see on the curbs in the City of Los Angeles now for recycling. Same program for the multifamilies. We recommend that we contract out for these recycling services with private waste haulers that are permitted right now with the City of Los Angeles. We would break the city up into waste sheds or sub-waste sheds to allow for the greatest number of firms to participate in the RFP process. And we are also recommending the issuance of a 7 notification to the permitted private waste haulers in the City of Los Angeles to make them aware the city is very aggressively pursuing all of our recycling efforts, and that we want to have all the options available to the city in the future for how we may need to change existing programs to meet the city's diversion goal as well as the state's diversion requirements.
Okay, two other things. First of all, you didn't mention the 7-year notification that you've included in the proposal. You did?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't listening to that then. And what was the time frame on issuing RFP on this?
The RFP is been drafted right now. It's been reviewed by Bureau Management, so we'll be ready to go after we get the confirmation from the City Council.
That's soon. And so we can have this rolled out late this year then?
Well, the RFP process does take time. I'll introduce Karen Koch of my staff to tell you more about that.
Hi, Karen Koga, Bureau of Sanitation. Well, as far as the RFP process, it does take about 90 days to get the proposals, to review them. The city policy review takes a little bit of time, and then the contracts will be going through our Board of Public Works and then back here to City Council because we're proposing a minimum of 5 years with extensions. We don't want to be having to redo the contracts every 2 years, so the City Council will have them. So we estimate it's going to take about a year to do that process.
Not to do the process, but actually be approving the contracts and say, go do it.
Yes, by the middle of 2007, so that we have full rollout achieved by the middle of 2008.
2008, which was the target date the mayor and I both set. And,
yes.
Okay, good. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think we were saying the same thing. It was just different. Okay, but that was the goal of the motions, and that was the goal of the mayor's edict on that. So good. And then finally, members of the council, I think we've all talked a lot of trash lately. We don't need to talk anymore. We've done this through committee, and I think what we have is a really good proposal for the City of LA to take the next giant leap in recycling, and that's in the multifamily housing, which all of us want to do. So I hope I have your support. And we have other things yet to come. Mr. Rosendahl has a requirement for multifamily housing units that are constructed in the future. They have recycling part of the building plans, and we're going to look toward solving those problems that they have in existing facilities, but for now, we need to make this next giant leap, and that's the department report, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Part of this was not has not had a public hearing, and we did get a speaker card, so before turning to our next two speakers, I'd like to invite Candido Maris to come forward to speak on this item. Mr. Maris.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Smith, I'm honored to have you as my councilman. I've been here since '91, and over again, we've gone over this issue. And then the contract comes up, and we're sitting here saying, you know, what are we going to do with it? You are sticking to this. We're going to get this done. We're going to end up taking care of our recycling issue in the city of Los Angeles, and I thank you for that. And I also want to thank your son, Matt. I don't know if the rest of them know, but he graduated from the Naval Institute, and he's now serving our country. So thank you, double.
Thank you very much, Mr. Morris. Always like a good shout out to the Navy. Mr. Cardenas, and then Mr. Rosendahl, and then Ms. Gruhl, and then Mr. Labange. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. I'd like to be able to get on the record. What's the relative magnitude of trash coming from our multiple family dwellings here in the city when you compare the ratio to our other trash being produced in the city?
Based on our studies, the Bureau estimates that out of the 540,000 multifamily units in the city not served by city forces, roughly 550,000 tons of waste are generated per year.
550,000
tons.
So what percentage ratio is that? 20% of the city's trash production?
It's actually about 10%.
It's about 10%. So basically, if we're going to be a city that moves toward proper disposal of trash as a policy in this city, we really shouldn't be doing that if we are not addressing 100% of the production of trash in our city. We can't, in other words, we can't ignore it. We shouldn't ignore it. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to point that out because it's really important for us to understand that we shouldn't politically not touch on issues for political reasons. We need to be able to involve ourselves in making the proper holistic decisions that we need to make as a city because I understand that you know, there's a lot of heartburn coming out of the multifamily units. Not that they disagree, but anytime government wants to impose something or government wants to change the rules, people get bothered because sometimes we don't do it right. But all I just wanted to say today is I appreciate the fact that Councilman Smith, with his committee and his responsibilities of trying to figure out what we're going to do with our trash in the city into the future, I think it's appropriate that we do look at every single aspect, irregardless of what the political ramifications might be. So I just wanted to point that out to the people of Los Angeles, that sometimes it's not easy politically to do these things, but if we're going to be responsible and honest with ourselves, we need to be looking at the holistic picture. So thank you, Greg Smith, for doing that and for not leaving this 10% out. It's important that we do everything that we can to get our recycling and to get our refuse away from landfills in general, be they local or otherwise. The less trash we send to landfills, the better for today and tomorrow, and it's good policy for the city, and hopefully other cities will follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Our next speaker is Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Greg Smith and absolutely everybody around the Horseshoe for taking leadership on this issue. We're moving in the right direction. I do have a motion, as you all know, and I just want the public to know that this is talking about the Planning Department and Department of Building and Safety to report to the committee on the current requirements regarding recycling in multifamily buildings and evaluation of adequacy and compliance with such requirements. But going forward, which is what we always should be thinking is the future, obviously, that I further move that the Bureau of Sanitation, Bureau of Engineering, and others work with the committee on the feasibility of and the implementation plan for requiring recycling chutes for any and all future multifamily buildings that are designed to contain trash chutes. How is that looking?
Well, I can tell you that in discussions we've had with other cities within California, as well as surveys with larger cities nationally, that we would be a leader in that area if we were to make that requirement. Santa Monica, when I was talking to their environmental services staff, had said that they would love to see this enacted within the city of Los Angeles so they can then follow suit. So we would be leading the curve in that area as opposed to following behind others. So the more we can make recycling convenient to all of our residents and our businesses, the more we can educate them on an ongoing basis, I think the more we'll see recycled and the greater diversion of materials from landfills, which is going to benefit everyone.
Because I know tenants and condo owners would both love to do it if the buildings were built in such a way that gave them and that support system doing it. So I look forward to going through the various committees. I look forward to you guys' leadership and seeing that we move in that direction. And again, I want to thank Mr. Smith for his overall leadership on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Ms. Gruhl is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Just a couple kind of easy questions. Someone's watching, and they live in a multifamily residence. They weren't part of the pilot program. What's going to be different, and when is that going to happen for individuals who live in multifamily to begin this recycling program?
You want to talk about it? Go ahead, Karen.
Hold my time, please.
Hi. Basically, we're going through a process of getting contractors to help us with the rollout of the recycling program. So what will happen is we have an interest list right now of several hundred complexes that are not being served in the pilot right now. So please have the folks that are interested contact us, because what we'll do is when we start the permanent program, we'll roll in the existing units we're already serving under the pilot, but we'll immediately go to those who have already expressed interest and pull them in right at the beginning. After that, we will start outreach by sectors in the city and try to get as many people in the permanent program as possible.
And when do you expect to get the contract, signed and implemented? Again, for a timing of someone who's listening, is this going to start in 6 months? Is it going to be a year?
We estimate it'll be a year from now because of the length and complexity of the program and rolling out these new services. But we will start as soon as the contracts are signed, getting the new units in the program. So we're moving as quickly as we can.
Great, and thank you to Mr. Smith, and I think that probably the whole council we've been talking about multifamily recycling for a long time, and we're ready to move on that. And I think we have to have a multifaceted approach to dealing with our waste and to limit our waste in the city of Los Angeles. One thing I would per your request just now, if you can do a flyer, we all go, our staffs go to a number of community meetings, and last night I had 200, I think, almost individuals who live in apartments in my district, who, if we handed them that flyer and said, if you want to be on the list and one of the first, call us and let us know. I think it'd be very helpful to kind of educate the public about that, what's going to happen. And the second part of that, in educating the public, is also about what you can put in your recycling bin. It's a constant message. I'm teaching my son, who knows now at 2.5, what do you do with the newspaper? You recycle it. And so everyone needs to be reminded, and say again, yeah, for their reading, yes. But it's very important to remind people, because I think all of us, we probably could recycle more than we do, but we haven't looked at the list recently. There's new technology, there's new things we couldn't put in a few years ago. Now you can put in the recycling bin. So I think maybe, and Mr. Smith is chair of the Renew committee, and maybe even with Mr. Rosendahl, to look at a big educational effort when we're going to start this multifamily, a big blitz, so that we can hit not only multifamily but single-family dwellings in the city of Los Angeles to remind them about the importance of recycling and what goes in those bins. So.
We actually, the Bureau requested a program for education outreach for the coming fiscal year, which is the mayor's proposed budget.
Okay, so I'll vote for that, okay. Great, thank you. But again, I think it's our opportunity to highlight the importance of doing this. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Labange, and he will be followed by Mr. Reyes. Mr. Labange.
Hi. Do you have a report from the private industry on what they're doing on recycling?
Yes, actually, one of the next reports that should be coming to the council fairly soon, it's being reviewed right now by our Bureau Management, is on commercial recycling and commercial, industrial, other governmental sectors,
Right.
what's being done currently, where our opportunities are to improve recycling efforts in those areas, and with a number of recommendations. So that will be one of our next reports coming forward to the
But
council.
have you studied that now?
Yes, we have. It's
And what do you find?
Well, go ahead, Karen.
Hi, basically that in some areas we're doing a great job. Manufacturing.
I'm talking about, here's the thing, I'm all for this. I'm a recycler. All that I believe in. But I want to make sure we put pressure on the industry, because all of a sudden if we take it up, maybe what they're doing right now, they'll quit and say the city's going to do it. That's the thing I want to make sure that we do, because that happens sometimes. I know our biggest problem is, and I know Mr. Cardenas, who's been a champion of trying to clean up his district, the issue of bulky items, and on some days right in front of apartment buildings, because city has a bulky item pickup, they just put all the stuff out there, and it causes a challenge for communities throughout Los Angeles. My question is, would we be opening we thought all the steps out, and we brought industry in and said, look, you're going to still have to do what you're doing. We're not going to all of a sudden start doing what you're doing, even though we should have recycling in there.
In answer to your question, Councilman, actually, with regards to the multifamily area, one reason why this was targeted for the city to really pursue recycling efforts was because there was not that much done by the private sector. With years of discussions on this, the private sector had not really, I would say, picked the ball and run with it with regards to multifamily recycling. And while some private waste haulers would offer the services, many others would not. Those that did offer the services would offer it at a higher cost, so the apartment owners would opt out of the program. With the city program, there's no cost passed back on against the apartment owners and or the renters. And so what we've done is we've found a way to use our permitted private waste hauler fee to basically use as a source of funds.
Let me just ask a question. So are we going to add containers at buildings?
Yes.
Okay, and do we know where those containers are going to be?
Yes.
Are they going to have space on their property, or are you going to make sure, let's say there's a building that's built in 1932 that's retrofitted that doesn't have any space. Are we going to allow containers there?
Yes, and it's a good question because we have found that obviously in rolling out the pilot program that some buildings, they may not have space for the blue bins
Hold my time,
downstairs.
just for a second.
They may not have space for their blue bins down their parking areas. They don't want to give up parking spaces, but they could find room for the blue bins in a public quad type of area within their facilities. So we're working with them, with the contractors, to get placement of the blue bins.
Right. All right. I want to work with you on this because I have a heavy apartment district in Hollywood and in the Wilshire Center area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Our next speaker is Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I appreciate the line of thinking that we're getting from Councilor Labange because the same type of physical limitations and social issues when it comes to safety and which buildings are accessible, which ones are essentially fenced off, how you get to those units. Quick question, you said 10% of all of our recyclables come from multifamily, did I hear you correctly? Hold my time, please.
10% of the waste generated and disposed in Los Angeles is disposed by multifamily. So
Okay.
it's trash.
And what do you base that on if the city is not collecting from multiple units beyond 5 units?
We did a waste characterization study back in 2001, 2002, where we went out and did generation estimates for many sectors, including multifamily. We also took, for example, in multifamily, 160 waste samples and sorted through that to find out what was being thrown away. And by that, they are estimates, but they were estimated based on a huge study that we did.
Because what strikes me is you have, like in my district,
Yes.
I have 35, 40,000 people per square mile, many families in one unit of 1 bedroom, but there are private haulers who come in and take their trash.
Right.
The city is not involved in those areas at all at this time.
The city does, Councilman, collect regular reports from our permitted private waste haulers that operate in the city of Los Angeles. So we know what waste is being generated and disposed of by the private waste haulers, as well as the amount of recycling, what kind of recycling is being done. We have gone through and certified the processing facilities, many of the processing facilities within LA for recycling, whether it's construction, demolition, or municipal solid waste, transfer stations. And so that allows us to capture this information so we can in turn report to the state with regards to AB 939 in terms of our diversion and what our disposal amounts are.
So when we come to those areas that are deemed unsafe or too risky because of certain elements that tend to hang out in certain pockets, how are we treating those issues and also the physical limitations of some of these structures since they weren't designed for recycling type of activity?
Well, actually, we have a significant number of units from your district and also CD4 in the current pilot program. And that's part of what we were trying to figure out during the pilot, is how to serve the older buildings or the ones that don't have enough space. And we found that in most cases, if they want recycling, they can find space for a 60-gallon can or two on their property. There's been very few actual locations where the folks wanted recycling where they could not be served.
I think one of the approaches you might want to weigh is I have quite a few apartment buildings that are in REAP. These are problem landlords, problem property owners who look at the tenants and the apartment as an ATM machine. They just have it there to take money out of it, but they put no money in.
I see.
And as a result, I don't believe they are going to be interested in even bothering with these programs because they don't care. The way they treat the people and the way they don't, the lack of accountability, given the condition of the building, what's going to make me think that they're going to care about recycling? And so we have a long list of buildings where there are investors who are treating my district that way. Maybe we can be proactive and look at those lists and figure out how we can approach it so that we don't exclude those who are already feeling a certain penalty because of the way they're being treated by the landlords.
We would be glad to work with any council district that has areas that need special attention. Once the program starts, we can have city staff go down and work with people. Absolutely.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this? If not, let's prepare the roll on these items and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Congratulations, Mr. Smith, and everybody else working on that. And next item, please.
Item number 36, called special by Councilmember Labange.
Okay, we now have item number 36, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Labange.
Yeah, before we get to 36, Mr. President, I'd like to ask that we send 81 back to committee. Thank you, Ms. Perry, for setting it up for me in my absence, but I wanted to go for committee and have a discussion
Okay,
with the
Mr.
office.
Zine has confirmed to call that special. That's fine. That would be to send it back to Intergovernment Relations?
Correct.
Okay.
Good.
We did have public speaker cards that I'll just read into the record, and I know there's some folks even out in Van Nuys we want to appreciate, since that's going to be sent back to committee. We won't have the public hearing today, but Devin Murphy, Marlene Goodman, Dr. Charlotte Laws, and Malathi Ramji, appreciate you, and we'll have that on the record, and when that goes before committee, we'll make sure folks know. Okay, if there's no objection to sending 81 to Intergovernment Relations, that'll be unanimously ordered. All right, item 36, Mr.
Thank you very
Labange.
much. Members, the International Visitors Council for years in this city, dating back to Tom Bradley's time, always received $40,000 a year. And they have done this to help face the needs of the city and acting as an arm to greet visitors, people in governments throughout the world to learn about the city processes, whatever it is, whether it's issues of our engineering, our water, our power, our airports, our port. Asked, with the support of the Budget and Finance, that this be approved today. It should have been approved last year. For some reason it wasn't. And also it will be included in next year's budget in our deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Let's prepare the roll on the item and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
Forthwith.
We'll go forthwith on that. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Next is item 37, called special by Ms. Perry for Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. Parks wanted to request that this item move forward with a report back from CDD, the CLA, CAO, on a timeline pursuant to the direction of the Budget and Finance Committee.
All right, there's no objection to that. Let's prepare the roll on that and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That'll be the order of the day. Next item, please.
Item 46, called special by Councilmember Gruhl.
Ms. Gruhl, do you want to take 46 and 47 together?
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
let's take
Garcetti.
those both
Read
up
my
together.
mind. Thank you. I know we have, Mr. Garcetti, I think a couple of cards. I believe they're all in favor of that. Thank you.
We've held a public hearing. Would you like to open?
I think
There are
if-
4 cards between the 2 items.
Okay, I think if they're all in favor,
There's 1 against in item 46, and then there are 3 that are for 47.
Okay. So maybe on 46, could we take, we'll go ahead and
Sure.
take the one public comment card
Sure.
on the opposition 46.
Well, if there's
and
no
then-
objection, colleagues, we will reopen the public hearing on item 46. And Nina Royale, if you'd like to come forward to give your testimony, you'll have 2 minutes, ma'am. Is Ms. Royal here? Royal? Oh. Welcome to City Hall. You have 2 minutes right there at the podium. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to let me speak. My name is Nina Royal. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Sunland Tahunga Neighborhood Council. And I have been talking to Dale Thresh, and I kind of understand the situation regarding the Kyle Street. However, on behalf of my community, we want you to be aware that we expect the ICO to be enforced, and that I believe we have some problems with the credibility of the situation itself and the people that are building this, we call it McMansion, and the fact that they feel that they misrepresented themselves. I urge you, please, this is extremely important to our community, land use. We are being besieged with McMansions, and this is the reason why this ICO was passed, and we are begging you to please be sure that it's enforced properly. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That closes again our public comment for item 46. We have 46 and 47. Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And just a note, on item 46 that Ms. Royale just testified on, actually the neighborhood council supported that hardship case. Colleagues, the next two cases involve hardship exemptions from the Sunland Tahunga Mansionization ICO that council approved 7 months ago in September of 2005. The ICO regulates the trends of building large houses on small lots by limiting construction of new or remodeled houses on R1 lots that are smaller than 8,000 square feet. The square footage of such houses may not exceed 40% of the lot area or 2,400 square feet, whichever is larger. The first case involves, in item number 46, a remodel of a house at 9930 France Avenue in Tahunga. And I want to just spend a brief moment on this case, even though it is, has been uncontested, because it provides a helpful context for the hardship exemptions. This application is for a 1,457 square foot addition to an existing residence. When completed, the size of the house, including the garage, would be 2,700 square feet. The young couple who's doing the remodeling have lived in the house for 11 years and have told us that the hardship is one that they paid for architectural plans. They have been paying monthly interest on the construction loan, and they are living uncomfortably in the part of their house while they prepare to start construction. They submitted their plans actually after the ICO was approved in October, but it is supported by the neighbors and the Sunland Tahunga Neighborhood Council. And the Plum Committee agreed that the couple suffered a hardship as a result of the ICO. Our second case, and the Simonians are here today, represents the Kyle Street case, a little different. The proposed house is 3,170 square feet, including the garage. The applicant submitted her plans to the Building and Safety Department 4 months before the ICO was approved by council. The exemption is being opposed by several neighbors. The applicant has indicated that her hardship is as follows, that she paid approximately $20,000 for architectural plans and engineering work. She paid $13,000 in government fees, obtained a construction loan, entered into a construction loan, and cleared the lot in preparation for a start of construction, and received a building permit. Opponents of the hardship exemption have contended that the applicant did not give all the facts or proof to support these as inadequate. What I'd like to do, colleagues, if you would give me a little bit of time, because we're not having any public hearing here, is the difference between these two and the challenge that we face is that we did pass an ordinance in, I think it was January of 2004, but the city attorney's actual ordinance did not, actually I think it was November, I'm looking at my staff, November of 2004? November? November of 2004 we passed the ordinance, is that correct? January? Okay, before the first time that we adopted it. But I'd like to, the challenge is that the original ordinance said we would go back to January of 2005, even though we adopted it formally in September of 2005. So if I could just briefly ask for Planning and Building and Safety, I think they're here. Do we have Planning and Building and Safety staff? And hold my time, sorry. Okay. Okay. And City Attorney, is City Attorney here as well? City, oh, thanks, Jerry. Okay. And maybe, I know Jerry, well, both of you are very familiar with this case, and I met a week ago with a number of my constituents, 20 or more, who said, we've passed this wonderful ICO, how come we can't enforce it? And so maybe if you could talk about, one, what's the reason for a hardship exemption, and why, when the Simonians went to pull their permit and all of that, that Building and Safety did not tell them that this ordinance was in place or whatever. Again, I know the answer to those questions, but I want you to share those with me. Share with all of us.
Jerry Burge, Land Use Division of the City Attorney's Office. I can certainly respond to the first question. Mr. Buitrago from Building and Safety probably can answer on behalf of Building and Safety's actions. As to why we have hardship exemptions in interim control ordinances, hardship exemptions are there to provide flexibility for the City Council to look at particular cases and to give relief from the ICO if particular facts lead the City Council to believe that's appropriate.
But in this case, where the ordinance goes back to January, but the council did not adopt it till September, where is the position as we look at hardship exemption from the city attorney's opinion?
We believe that Building and Safety's decision was defensible under the ICO, but we also believe that providing a hardship in this case, in light of the facts of this case, is an absolutely defensible position.
Hector Buitrago, Department of Building and Safety. Because of the applicable date essentially became retroactive, when considering that the ordinance was passed in September, and the plan was submitted in between the time when the ordinance was applicable and the time that the ordinance became effective. That's not that common of an occurrence, so our system is not geared for those types of situations, so this one we happen to miss. What we have done since we found this out is that we went back and flagged all of the permit applications that have been filed during that period in this area, and it's about 60 of them. I'm not saying that all 60 would be subject to the ordinance, but there was a total of 60 projects that were filed, and we have flagged them all in our computer, so before that permit is issued, we're going to review that application again, so we should not miss any more.
Then there has been some questions about the building permit application. In this case apparently contained the address of the adjacent lot formerly owned by the applicant. Do you know where, did the city issue the building permit for the correct property?
There was a mistake because the lot was rearranged. They did a lot line adjustment, and there was some confusion in the records about that, but that error has since been rectified. And,
Okay,
and the permit is issued to the correct lot, yes.
To the correct lot that it was. Well, colleagues, and thank you for a little bit of your indulgence here. There's no win-win in this situation because we did the ICO for a reason to ensure some consistency and to deal with the mansionization issue. And at the same time, historically, when you have an ICO, there are hardship exemptions, and based on advice from city attorney and planning, I think 99% of the time they have been granted. With that, when I spoke to the community last week and my staff spoke with the owners, actually they have agreed to voluntarily reduce the home by 200 square feet. And so colleagues, I'll be asking you to amend this plum report that would include reduce the floor area by at least 200 square feet. And so, you know, the interesting part about this and learning through this is, ironically, if they made the garage a carport, that would reduce it by an additional 400 feet, and they'd only be about 130 feet above the ICO that currently exists. And so, colleagues, I believe it is clear that hardship exemptions are not about always strict rules of evidence, but they are about also using some common sense and trying to figure out how to balance the needs of the new owners and the residents of the surrounding community. So I think that with that, I would ask that we amend it to include the language of less than, sorry, I want to make sure I have this right, to reduce the floor area by at least 200 square feet. And so, again, this is not an easy one for both the community as well as for the Simonians, and I just want to thank all of them for their willingness to try to figure this out as we have, this is the first ICO in that area, and particularly for the mansionization. So,
And I'm sorry, Ms. Gruhl, just for clarification, since we're doing both items, 46
this would
and
be
47.
for only item number 47. Thank you. So that would be my request. Thank
Okay.
you for your indulgence.
All righty. If there's nobody else who wishes to be heard, let's prepare the roll on that motion and close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That's approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 73, and that was call special for a card from the public.
Melrose Larry Green, we have item number 73.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Melrose Larry Green. Item number 73 is very critical. You know, one thing you may not know about me, I'm a big sports fan. Big sports fan. Not only do I love animals and, you know, all about my radio background and all that, but I love sports. I'm looking at the agenda. Item 73 is relative to processing land use documents. Look at this. Addressing the renovation and use of the Coliseum by a professional football team. And if I'm reading the LA Times correctly, there might be 2 professional football teams coming to Los Angeles. Now, some of you were around during the Mayor Reardon era. I think the city spent about $118 million, give or take a million, in renovating the Coliseum, making it earthquake-proof and beautiful. Am I within a million or so? Am I in that area? What's a million in today's economy? Anyway, it's money well spent. Coliseum is great. We got a great stadium at the Coliseum. That means work. You want work for that area of LA, which is a vibrant, growing area, lots of jobs. Every time there's a game at the Coliseum, that's work. That's work for those that sell food. That's work for those that work security. That's work for those that take tickets. That work for those that sell programs. That's money. The only way we're ever going to solve the problems of gangs in this city is by jobs. I don't care if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican. I hate to say it, I am, but a good one. We gotta do this, and this is wonderful. This is what we say in Yiddish is a machaya, number 73. We gotta do this, and sooner rather than later. And by the way, before I wrap up, there is another basketball team in LA besides the Lakers. They're called the Clippers. And again, if I'm about to, if the LA Times is reliable, I don't know, they're not very reliable, maybe the sports page is. According to the LA Times this morning, the Clippers are 2-0 in the playoffs, which means that I know the city council is very good with their investments. You're not allowed to gamble in the city of LA, but you can call Las Vegas. You want to make some money for the city of LA, bet on the LA Clippers, because they could go all the way. Why not? Who would have believed that I'd go to Brandeis and Cornell and get to know the mayor of LA? In New York, I wouldn't be within 1,000 yards of Bloomberg or Giuliani. I love Los Angeles and my councilman, Tom LaBonge. I'm Melrose Larry Green. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Green. Anybody wishing to be heard on this? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item number 74, called special by Councilmember Rosendahl.
Mr. Rosendahl. We have item 74 now, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Rosendahl to be heard on the item on the West Side Council of Government.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an FYI to my colleagues, as Janice Hahn has so importantly joined the South Bay COG to make a difference with the other communities for South Bay issues, I am just thrilled that the City Council has taken leadership here in allowing me to be appointed to the West Side COG with my colleague Jack Weiss as my alternate. It does, for the first time, bring Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, Santa Monica, and Culver City and LA City together by us talking about mutual interests. Let's face it, the gridlock we have in this city in part is because communities haven't been talking to each other over the years. Now we all realize we must. So the West Side COG will also be working with the South Bay COG because we have similar issues. North-south is a big deal in my district. In the morning, all my streets are clogged. People coming into the district in the morning and leaving in the afternoon. Many of them come from Janice Hahn's area in the South Bay. So the ultimate dream of the West Side COG and the South Bay COG is to join those two at the hip and start to get mass transit into the South Bay with the Green Line as we go through the LAX settlement and the People Mover down to the Galleria in Redondo Beach and bring it right up and up to Lincoln Boulevard into the Expo line in Santa Monica. Truly, we in the South Bay and on the West Side will see relief. This is a critical juncture. This is a historic moment. City of Los Angeles is going to be at the table with those other four cities. And I just want to thank, Mr. President, and my colleagues for their support on this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this? If not, let's prepare the roll on the appointment. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations, Mr. Rosendahl. Thank you. I know you'll do us well. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is number 80, and that has cards from the public. Do you wish to take those before going into closed session on that item?
Yes. Why don't we take public comment on item 80 before we go into closed session? Starting with Bill Huey, if you'd like to come forward. Cesar Altamirano, Robert Silverstein, Jid Mansouri, Enrique Henry Mora, and Melrose Larry Green.
Good morning, Council President Garcetti and the honorable members of the Los Angeles City Council. My name is Bill Huey. I do public relations for the Florentine Gardens. I just want to bring to your attention the truth behind the building the Fire Station 82 at the Florentine Gardens site. Number one, the wealthy people who live in Beechwood Canyon and Hollywood Hills want to have the new Fire Station 82 built near their homes. Doing this to please a special interest group will place the new fire station far west from the center of the service area. This will put those who live east of Western Avenue in Hollywood at risk because it will take much longer for help to arrive on the east side during an emergency. This will also place firefighters at risk because they will have to drive faster for a much longer distance. Secondly, there's a bit of a racist agenda here because the president of the Hollywood United Council, Joel Fisher, said to the Hollywood Independent newspaper that he prefers to have the new Fire Station 82 built at the Florentine Garden site because the clientele there is not a mixed crowd. This is a racist code language. Number three, Fran Reichenbach, president of Beechwood Canyon Franklin Hills Association, sent out emails saying that they don't like living next to a hip-hop club. Again, this is racist code language meant to slant the club. It was Fran who applied political pressure to stop the construction at Hollywood and Garfield, the original site in the center of the service area chosen by the LA Fire Department. It was also Fran who applied political pressure to stop construction at the second site chosen by the LA Fire Department at Hollywood and Van Ness. This is proof that the two main driving forces, the leaders who have been lobbying City Hall, have a racist agenda. I have two attached pages for all the members of the City Council that has excerpts from those publications. It is the moral duty of government to give the rich and the poor equal protection and not allow any organization with a racist agenda to win out. The majority of the people who live on the east side of Western Avenue are low-income minorities. They are entitled to their fair share of protection from the LA Fire Department.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Okay.
Cesar Altamirano.
The sergeant, if I can give this to the sergeant.
We'll make sure that the Sergeant at Arms gets those. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Council President Garcetti. It's nice to see you again, and honorable council members. First of all, personally, I would like to thank you that every time we came here, even though we have differences of opinion and decisions, the council members have been very kind, especially Mr. LaBonge, that we have some disagreements, but overall, I just mainly want to thank you because somehow I know that he has been trying to do his best, and I want to thank you for that. The same to Mr. Garcetti. And I want to thank Mr. Wizard too, as far as being a new council member, but I know that he's doing a great job here. Congratulations, sir. But I just want to read some press release, and I hope that Mr. Lamanche don't take personally, but this is only for the records. In a press release in Los Angeles, the 31st of January 2003, was reading by a press release from Tom Lamanche, 4th District Office, and said it was jointly announced by council members Tom Lamanche and Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Bill Bamatri. The new 9.3 million Station 82 will be located on 1 acre at Hollywood Boulevard and Garfield Avenue. The location is at the center of Station 82 service area between Fire Station 27 and Cahuenga Boulevard and a Fire Station 35 on Hillhurst Avenue. This site on Hollywood Boulevard is more central relative to his service area than the existing site, said Chief Bamatri. The fire department's #1 priority is to protect and save lives, and we believe building this state-of-the-art facility at this location improves our ability to achieve this goal. And the only thing that we ask you is for you to achieve that goal for the safety of the people in the east side and to be concerned about that. I know that that's your job and it's our job as a citizens to make sure that we do the best for the people in need. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Robert Silverstein is our next speaker. Mr. Silverstein, and then Jayed Mansouri. Welcome.
Thank you, Council President Garcetti and honorable council members. My name is Robert Silverstein. I'm an attorney with the Silverstein Law Firm, and I represent Kenneth McKenzie and the Florentine Gardens. I will not repeat all of the comments made to date over these many months, but do wish to emphasize certain key points which we urge you to consider in your deliberations today. 1, the Florentine Gardens location is not the best site for the project. There is far greater need in the service area to the east. 2, the acquisition of the Florentine Gardens for this project would be an enormous waste of taxpayer dollars. It is currently estimated that the acquisition cost for the Florentine Gardens would be approximately $80 to $90 million, including loss of business goodwill, relocation expenses. You must be aware, in addition, that the additional parcels across the street from the Florentine Gardens, which the city required Mr. McKenzie to covenant for parking for the Florentine Gardens, would also have to be taken in any eminent domain action. You're quickly above approximately $100 million. 3, in 1991, the city lost a case called Chadwick versus City of Los Angeles, which was another fire station siting case. In Chadwick, the city illegally approved a fire station site on Mr. Chadwick's property without ever giving him proper notice of the early site selection process. That has occurred in this case as well. Mr. McKenzie was never notified of the critical early site selection process and hearings, and for that reason, as in Chadwick, Mr. McKenzie's due process rights have been violated. And let the record reflect that I will be handing in to the clerk a copy of the Chadwick decision. 4, we have filed a lawsuit against the city under the California Environmental Quality Act, and that lawsuit will prevent the city from going forward with this project. I filed our opening trial brief a few weeks ago, and the city has yet to respond, and this is the trial brief that we filed. The law is on our side, and I do believe that we will prevail, which means that this project will be stopped for another year, and the city will incur further expense on a project that should never have started in the first place.
Thank you.
If I could just conclude with one sentence, is that all right?
We're over time. Went a little bit over,
very
but
much.
thank you, Mr. Silverstein. We appreciate it. Mr. Mansouri?
Good morning, Honorable Council President Garcetti, distinguished council members. To continue on the acquisition costs, when the voters in Los Angeles voted for Prop F, the $365 million bond was to build 19 new fire stations and animal shelters. To spend 1/3 of that entire budget, more than $100 million on one facility, is unfair and very costly. The Florentine Gardens will prove to be a very expensive acquisition because of the following reasons. The 166,000 square feet of prime real estate on Hollywood Boulevard at $400 per square feet will come out to about $60 million. To build a structure identical to the Florentine Gardens in size, 25,000 square feet, which has the legal capacity of 1,500 people and 500 spaces for parking, this will cost an additional $10 million. The loss of the world-famous landmark, which first opened in 1938, and as a part of Hollywood's golden age, that could equate to about $10 million. The loss of 24 years of established business ownership, the Florentine Gardens at the same location for all those years, which the owner has spent several $million to advertise, promote, and establish business. That would be an additional $10 million. And then the construction of the new fire station would be at least $10 million. Legal fees, court cases, and court battles will probably equate to another $3 or $4 million. To add these figures together, you've got over $110 million spent on a facility that's not properly and centrally located to serve the entire community. You guys will make a very critical decision in a few minutes. Please take all that into consideration. Let's do the best thing for the city, for everybody, so it serves the entire community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mansouri. Mr. Mora? Henry Mora? Welcome to City Hall. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to you and council members. My name is Henry Mora. I'm a musician and also a band leader of a 23-piece orchestra, and I'm in support of saving the Florentine Gardens, mainly because it's going to save jobs. It's my opinion that if you go forward with this project, the employment for the working class, the low-wage earners in the city of Los Angeles, will suffer as a result of the condemnation of the Florentine Gardens. The working class, the people that pay more taxes than anyone else, such as waiters, waitresses, busboys, barbacks, bartenders, musicians like myself, DJs, and other personnel that are employed in entertainment venues, such as the Florentine Gardens, will be abandoned by big government once again, should this proposal succeed. In their haste to condemn the Florentine Gardens, the agency has committed procedural error in the resolution of necessity. That is, that the project is located in such a manner as to offer the greatest public benefit with the least private detriment. This has yet to be established by the agency and violates the California Code of Civil Procedure 1245.230. Condemning a Hollywood landmark does not fit the description of least private detriment. Moreover, the agency has consistently overlooked more viable and less expensive, let me reiterate that, less expensive locations for a fire station than the Florentine Gardens. How can this be construed as to offer the greatest public benefit? Why does the city of Los Angeles want to pay more than necessary to build a fire station? This is another sterling example of wasted tax dollars through bureaucratic mismanagement of public funds. The agency has also overlooked safety measures such as proposed storing of thousands of gallons of fuel in the planned site next to a senior citizens housing compound.
Mr. Mora, if I can ask you to conclude, please. Yeah, that was the timer. We have the timer clock right there, so you can follow along.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mora. We appreciate it. And our last speaker is Melrose Larry Green.
As they say in the cliche world, we're saving the best for last right here, folks. My name is Melrose Larry Green, and I would like to indulge the members of the City Council for just a few seconds. First, Mr. Wesson and Ms. Perry, and I know Mr. Parks is not here, but for his staff. You might remember the great singer Nat King Cole bought the house at 401 South Muirfield in the midst of Hancock Park. Homes that now, that home probably would go for about $10 million. Famous African-American singer. When he moved in, the people on the block said, "We don't want any trouble in this area." True story. Nat King Cole said, "If there's any trouble, I'll let you know." And Nat King Cole lived there for many years. The house is still there, 401 South Muirfield. For those that think the Florentine Gardens is some kind of a hip-hop club or a bar or a negative influence, I beg to differ. Those of you old enough to remember 1956 when Elvis Presley started in rock and roll and he went on Ed Sullivan, they wouldn't let him be photographed from below the hips. There's nothing wrong with hip-hop. I do hip-hop. I love reggaeton. I may be a little old, but I enjoy reggaeton. There's nothing wrong with hip-hop. There's nothing wrong with the young people having something to do other than gangbanging in the city of LA. There's nothing wrong with going out for a good night and dancing with somebody else on a Friday or Saturday night. And when you do the right thing, and I know you're going to do the right thing, because I know you have a good heart, all of you, even the Democrats. I know you've got a great heart. You're going to do the right thing because you're wonderful people. Because I come from Tom LaBonge's district, and I ran for mayor twice, and I ran for city council once, and I might have lost, but I'm not going to lose this Florentine Gardens fight. Because I know you're doing the right thing. And if you do the right thing with this, it's going to come back and pay you back a million times. This I guarantee, this I guarantee, this I guarantee. And thank you for the great photo of my cat. Thank you.
And I assume your cat is in agreement with you, Mr. Green? Just want to make sure. Okay, that closes our public comment for this item. We are going to go into closed session on this item. We do have item 86 still before us. What we could do is we could suspend, we could keep 80 on the table if you want to take up 86 before we go into closed session, Mr. Smith?
It's just a report on the status of the contract anyway, so I think it'll be rather quick.
Okay, why don't we do that? We will hold 80 on the table. Folks can still stay here. We're not going to go into closed session quite yet. And item 86, if we can take that up, please. I also wanted to state for the record, I know she knows that it was after we closed public comment that Donna Doherty was here as well for public comment. We'll enter that into the record, Ms. Doherty. Thank you. We won't hear public comment. We already closed it. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead on item 86.
Good morning, council members. And Enrique Zaldivar, Assistant Director with the Bureau of Sanitation. I want to give you a status report on where we are on the negotiations with the two contractors that you directed us to execute contracts with, MDSI in Avenal and Waste Management in El Sobrante landfill. I want to tell you that we have made good progress. We expect to complete all of our negotiations by May 17th and go to the Board of Public Works by May 24th for recommendations to execute those contracts. We have had one face-to-face meeting with both of the contractors. We have a second face-to-face meeting scheduled for this Friday. We do not anticipate any more subsequent face-to-face meetings thereafter. However, we're building in time for a potential third face-to-face meeting. So we are on schedule based on what we had indicated to you would take us to negotiate these agreements. And we expect, again, by May 24th to go to the Board of Public Works for recommended execution of the agreements.
Just briefly, have there been any impediments, or is it going exactly to what the RFP was, and you're satisfied everything's on track the way it was set up in the RFP?
The spirit of the direction that you gave us is pretty much intact. There are some detailed issues that we obviously didn't reach agreement in the first cut. We're coming back on the second cut face-to-face where we expect to reach agreement. So we're optimistic that there are no deal breakers at this point.
Okay. And if we sign contracts, how long till we can start diverting? El Sobrante will be easier, I think, but
yeah, the timeline that we have in mind based on this proposed timeline is that we would have the 6 months notice take effect January 1st, 2007. That's when we will start going to Avenal and El Sobrante.
Very good.
Okay?
Thank you. Mr. President, I don't know if there's any questions, but that was just an update. We don't require any actions, I recall.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Anybody else wishing to be heard on item 86? Okay, so there's no vote on that. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it very much. We'll now return to item 80. In accordance with California state law, we will go into executive session to discuss any legal matters. Any action that we do take, we will come back into open session, and if prescribed by law, we will announce what that is as well. So thank you all very much, and we will be back in open session shortly. Welcome back into open session. We now have before us item number 80. I assume there are some folks from the public that are coming back in, so why don't we wait for members of the public to come back in to make sure that everybody who wants to hear the action will move that. Yes, Ms. Perry, in the meantime?
Before we adjourn, I wanted to ask that 38 and 73 go forthwith. I'm asking on behalf of Mr. Parks.
Okay, if there's no objection to that, colleagues, those two will go forthwith. We still have this item before us. I had made the motion, for folks that are coming back in, I had made the motion along with Mr. Labange to instruct the Department of General Services and the city engineer, due to the prohibitive costs of the proposed acquisition, to end negotiations for acquisition of the Florentine Gardens at 5951 Hollywood Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, as the site for the new Fire Station 82, and to instruct the Proposition F Fire Facilities Oversight Committee to consider and report back to council on the various options and alternatives with respect to the new Fire Station 82 project. So with that, we have that before us. Anybody wishing to be heard? If not, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved, and that will be the order. Mr. Labange.
I ask to go forthwith to the mayor, and also in the instructions that the fire department, the CAO, the CLA, and the city engineer received, is that they would work with the community, the neighborhood councils, and other organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, to find the proper site to serve the community in the area and report back to us.
Great, thank you. We will include that, and we'll go forthwith if there's no objection to the mayor on that. And thank you, everybody, for your comments and your involvement with this as well. Okay, that is our last item. Do we have any housekeeping to do?
Yes, council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Smith requests to be excused Friday, May 19th for city business that meets council policy.
Mr. Smith is excused.
And Councilmember Cardenas requests to be excused Wednesday, May 17th for city business that motion is required.
Ms. Hahn moves and Ms. Gruhl seconds. If there's no objection, that excuse is granted as well.
And that clears the desk.
Okay. Any announcements, colleagues? Any announcements? Seeing none, do we have any adjourning motions, Ms. Hahn? Yep. Can I please ask everybody in council chambers to rise for our adjourning motions in tribute to individuals who have passed on? Can I ask everybody please to rise? Oh, we have an announcement from Mr. Rosendahl?
Just a quick one. The Polish Film Festival starts this Thursday, April 27th. For more information, go to www.polishfilmla.org.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Any other announcements? If not, if I could please ask everybody to rise for adjourning motions, and starting with Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, members. I'd like us to adjourn I have three today. First one, Consuelo Rivera passed away on Good Friday at the age of 92. She was surrounded by her family and friends, and she was a devoted mother who taught her kids the Christian values of faith, hope, and charity. She's preceded in death by her husband of more than 60 years, Salvador, and she's survived by 5 children, Consuelo, Rosemarie, Jose, Angela, and Teresa. Angie Birkenbach is her daughter, and Angie, until she just recently retired, was the chief wharfinger at the Port of Los Angeles. And she also had 19 grandchildren, 32 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. It's pretty amazing. Also, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Mildred Thomas. Mildred Thomas passed away on April 12th at the age of 90. She was a member of the Holy Trinity Better Half Club, the Friday Morning Stud Club, and the Phi Sigma Phi sorority. She was preceded in death by her husband, John, and she's survived by her daughters, Carol and Nancy. Carol Rugnetta is a San Pedro activist who's very important to all of us. And she's survived by her other daughter, Nancy, her brother, Wesley, 6 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, and numerous nieces and nephews. I'd also like to adjourn in memory of Jeanette Christine Cedillo, who passed away on March 6 at the age of 21. She was a graduate of Hawthorne High School and was attending Santa Monica College to pursue a career in business. She was a gifted painter and a ballet dancer. She was very patient, and she enjoyed caring for the children at Covenant Presbyterian Church.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Other adjourning motions, colleagues? Ms. Berry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am doing this on behalf of Mr. Parks. Tomas Briseno was the grandfather of City Council aide from Council District 8, Lorenzo Briseno. His grandfather, Tomas, was born in Zacatecas, Mexico on December the 24th, 1924. He was the father of 9 children and lived most of his life in Mexico, where he owned a farm and enjoyed working the field every day. He passed away at the age of 81 years on April 17, 2006. Funeral services were held this morning at St. Matthias Catholic Church in Huntington Park. He is survived by 2 brothers, 4 sons, 3 daughters, 32 grandchildren, and 17 great-grandchildren.
Wow. Thank you, Ms. Berry. Other adjourning motions, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Mr. Zine, myself, and I presume all council members, ask that the council adjourn in the memory of Edward Michael Davis, former police chief. Ed Davis was born in 1916 in Los Angeles, graduated from John C. Fremont High School, got his Master of Public Administration from USC, so he was an LA guy. He joined the Los Angeles Police Department in 1940, first walking the beat when we had downtown beat in downtown Los Angeles with his partner, Tom Bradley. He rose up through the ranks as director of the Police Protective Union and later as a top trusted aide to the legendary Chief of Police, Bill Parker. After Chief Tom Redden ended his career very quickly to run for mayor, Ed Davis was appointed Chief of Police on August 29, 1969. As Chief of Police from 1969 through 78, he was known as a popular firebrand who pushed for law enforcement and order during turbulent times in Los Angeles and the country. Davis was also known for his historic reforms in the LAPD and legendary of influencing law enforcement, which still stands in the LAP today, and invented very popular programs known worldwide. They include Neighborhood Watch, team policing, and the basic car plan process. All were designed to bring citizens of Los Angeles and the police department together as a team to efficiently make the streets of Los Angeles safer. The City of Los Angeles honored Ed Davis by naming our new facility in Granada Hills, the Emergency Operations Training Center and Tactics and Firearms Training Center in Granada Hills in 1998, the Edward M. Davis facility. Davis then confronted conventional wisdom when he became a moderate Republican senator from the San Fernando Valley, championing environmental causes and gay rights. Davis retired in 1992 and moved to Morro Bay with his wife Bobby. In retirement, he remained a leading proponent for responsible government and began new social life as an ex-Angelino, including health enthusiast Jack LaLanne, and former Los Angeles County Supervisor and then Morro Bay resident, also and then Mayor Warren Doran. Davis was a real institute in Los Angeles Police Department. He is well known and loved by all those that served here at the time. I remember one time when he came to this council as chief of police, when he came for the money for the Neighborhood Watch program and some other programs. He also upgraded our helicopter fleet. And then President of the Council, John Gibson, said, "Mr. Davis, you got everything you wanted. What else? Is there anything else we missed?" And he said, "Actually, we have a proposal right here." And he pulled out some papers. We want to purchase a submarine to cruise the harbor. And the entire city council and everybody went, because they actually believed and then he started laughing. And that was the kind of guy Ed Davis was. He had a great sense of humor. He loved pulling your leg, but he was a real dynamic leader in LAPD. He will be missed. I know LAPD, all those who served the LAPD in blue, whoever served with Ed Davis will miss him. He was a great man for this city. Edward M. Davis.
That'll be all members, yeah. Ms. Hahn and then Mr.
Thank you. That was great. And when I was reading a lot about him in the papers, I think people don't realize that Ed really took this idea of, he told his officers, I want you to go into the community and the neighborhoods. I want you to get to know the neighbors. I want you to go into their living rooms and listen to their concerns, and then I want you to figure out what are the crimes that are most bothering them, and then I want you to figure out using all the resources available to do that. Clearly was the forerunner for community-based policing and our senior lead officers. That's exactly, you're right, and it was really groundbreaking and we got attention around the world for that. But that really was the establishment of this idea that police officers should work with the community, let them be your partners in solving these crimes. So it was interesting to read that Ed really was the first who thought of doing our community-based policing and our senior lead officers, and we have a lot to be grateful for that.
Mr. Labange?
And, to add to that too, as Greg mentioned, growing up in Los Angeles, his neighbor was a Los Angeles police officer, and he was so impressed. And that's what's great too about when you read an obituary of a man who got his first thought about public service from a neighbor, whether it's someone who is a firefighter who happens to walk by a fire station near his high school, or now he was a neighbor of a future Los Angeles police officer. That was a dynamic connection that was there. I had a chance to meet him when I was very early in my career here, and he was a towering man, as Greg mentioned, who was played gags. But also what Janice said is so true. When you bring government to the people, you do a greater job. And the police department, as I mentioned to a small roll call at Rampart today, happened to, is getting to see people. And that whole tenet that Chief Davis had of getting to the people is so important. So all members on this adjournment, and I know there's a memorial plan sometime later at the Academy, which would be, hopefully we could attend in force to support that. And I think what Greg mentioned was so important. He was an environmentalist, because sometimes you don't think about police officers being environmentalists or being in open space. Much of his district has been captured, and he also helped push the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, instead of being just a West Side LA organization, to the whole rim of the San Fernando Valley. And then also standing for what is right about all people of issues related to gay rights. Ed Davis was there. So I lived a wonderful life and lived in the great Morro Bay area in retirement. God bless Ed Davis.
Thank you all very much. Any other adjourning motions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
You don't walk by a fire station?
This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned, and we will next be in session tomorrow, Wednesday, April 26th at 10 a.m. Thank you all. This meeting is adjourned.